I am Catalina Christensen, a pigment maker and pigment collector. I am going to show you some of the tools that I use to process my pigments. Some of them are maybe a little bit unusual. When I first was inspired to process my pigments, I was in a desert in Colombia and I didn't have any of the traditional tools. So I had to improvise. The area is an area that has been very known for having lots of fossils, even though there are not too many now. But I have collected some over time. So I started experiment grinding the rocks with them. It turned out that they are great for the job. As you can see in the video, the fossil I'm using fits perfectly in my hand and performs really, really well. For me, the gathering and preparation of the pigments is an artistic endeavor in itself. Especially, I love when I can process the pigment while on the landscape because I feel really connected to the earth. Now in Colombia, I have an improved set of tools from natural materials. In a completely different scenario, when I am processing the pigments in my studio in London, I will take the big rocks and using my hammer, get some smaller pieces so that I can use them with the pestle and mortar. However, if I need to work indoors, I don't want a lot of dust in the studio. So I came with this idea. I take an old sock, cover the pestle and mortar very well, and as you can see, I can very well do the grinding without having so much dust going everywhere. Once I'm happy with the grinding, I will remove the sock and I am going to separate the different particle size. For that, I use this sieve for rocks. So the grind material is poured on the sieves, and then I just have to give it a good shape. This will take some time, but I'm going to do a short version now. Okay. This has 6 different trays and separates the pigments from 4,000 microns to 63 microns. The 4,000, you can see, this is the main rocks, and this is the size that I get for the 4,000. In here, I can show you the different sizes. I always keep a sample of the rocks for reference, and you have the 4,000, 2,000, 500, 250, 125, and 63 microns. These 3 I will only use if I am doing an installation, like outdoor installation or something like that. I mainly work with the last 3. The 150 I use if I want to have a lot of texture in the paintings, or for example to fill my glass bowls that I use to create different installations with many different colors of the pigments. But for my paintings, I mainly use the 125 and the 63. The 63, as you can see, is almost like flour. And I really like to work with that size of particles. Also, I always like to wash my pigments. So I will put the pigment container. And I cover it with water. I give it a very good stir. And will leave to settle down. The reason I do this is in order to get a very pure color, get rid of all the impurities, and also, for example, the pigments when I collect in Colombia, there is a lot of chalk in the area. So this way I can get rid of the chalk or other impurities and get a very, very fine color for my pigment. These are some examples I did before, little samples. The water will be like this. So I will change the water several times. I let the pigment settle down, discharge the water and put new water, stir, and I do this several times. You know, as you can see, every time the water is getting clearer and clearer. Once the water is completely clear, my pigment is ready. So what I do is I will discharge that water and pour the pigment to get dry. In here, I have one I made early, so I will put the pigment. Even though I have traditional mullets, like this and this, I have had this one made of granite. I love it. It's very good to hold. It fits my hand very well. And it's fantastic to either put the pigment to dry, to create your paints. It's a very nice feeling working with it. Also, another tool that I will recommend is I have a number of slabs. They're granite slabs, sometimes marble, but I prefer the granite. They come from a company, they do kitchen tops and bathroom tops, and this is what is left when they cut the hole for the sinks, so you can get them, and in that way they are not that expensive. No. Once the pigment is dry, I do a final grinding before I do the paintings or before I have to store the pigment. For this, I remove the pigment from the slab, and I like to use this old iron. I have a little collection of three that I bought in antique markets in France. They cost me £3 to £5 each, and they are absolutely great to work with. You know, you can hold them very well. They are very well balanced. When you grind the pigment, it's a very satisfying process. The result is a very uniform and fine particle size, as you can see. Finally, very important, every time that you work with pigments, you have to protect yourself. So you need to use gloves and you need to use an appropriate masks. This is very important because you need to protect your skin, but more importantly, your lungs from harmful particles. I didn't do it today as an exception because of doing the film, but otherwise I always protect myself. I hope you enjoy my tools. Thank you very much. Goodbye.